Great recovery from good old BTC, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, sweep to the downside to only make that nice little climb up. Some of you are like, yeah, baby, the bull run is back on and what have you. And we just had some very interesting news about prices in the United States on finished goods. So do we just ape in and just be like, yes, let's do it? Welcome to Traders Reality, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to break it all down and help you understand what this data means now moving forward. But you've got to remember, tomorrow is the real data. All right. So if we get a surprise reading like we did today and inflation comes down, well, ladies and gentlemen, sell your nan, sell your dog, donate your lungs. You ain't going to need them. And you can buy prosthetic ones when you've made your money. Everything principally should be marking higher. The concept of everything being overvalued is just being laughed at. The bonds have been smacked to death. Oh, man, but they have seen a nice little run to the upside. I'm telling you, bond market is going to reverse pretty sharply. And in today's live, I'm going to be explaining why that may be the case. So if you are new, be sure to like and subscribe. Let's get with the flavor and understand exactly what we are dealing with today. So, dollar slips. I mean, going over to the dollar just for a split second. Nice little Bitcoin movement right there. Dollar's pulling back pretty aggressively, but just looking at things across the board, across the big major banks, their net positions are favoring dollar to come down in around March 25th. So around the 25th of March, banks are actually positioned to believe that dollar yen is going to start rolling over to around the 145 mark. And that's really important because dollar yen going down, that means the dollar dominance is going down. That means euro is going to be climbing up. The Japanese yen is going to be climbing up. And why would the Japanese yen be climbing up? Well, because of this. They say in the markets, you sell the rallies. That doesn't mean when price is going down, you sell. No, you sell the rallies to the upside. So when price is rising, you sell, right? On the idea that you've actually purchased something of value, which was at $50, for example, and it's rose to $70. What are you going to do? Stand there and scratch you anyways. This story right here puts things into perspective. Again, the wage increases that have been happening in Japan, they have been going up pretty extensively. And this dude right here pretty much come out with it and said that there could be a possibility that the Bank of Japan increases its interest rates next week, but they are waiting for Trump's inauguration. 20th of January, rate hike expected in the meeting between the 24th and the 25th of January. The last time they increased their interest rates, they declared it on the 31st of July. They increased the interest rates. The market did nothing. Come 5th of August, slap to the downside. But what we don't have, what we didn't have then is what we have now. The bonds are aggressively lower. The yields are aggressively high. Going over to the yields themselves, just to put things into perspective for you, 2-year yields coming in at the 4.382%. Going over to the 10-year, we've got ourselves 4.79 going into the open. So 10-year is still itching upwards, even though that the actual 10-year bond market itself did make a move up to only come down. That might be a bit of a problem for us. Why the excitement to only bring things back down again? Well, that's only because of this data that's come out right here. In front of you, you can see that the actual projected core PPI reading, which is the cost of finished goods and services, was expected at 0.2%. It came in at 0. So there've been, if anything, a reduction in prices. Happy days, because that means that inflation has got less of a chance of going up if they are reducing the cost of finished goods. Awesome. On top of that, you've got the PPI coming in at 0.2, which was projected at 0.4. Awesome. So that means that the Federal Reserve has every reason to cut the interest rates. However, we've got inflation. That is expected to come in at 0.2 core. This is the top one here, which is the main reading that they're looking for. And then you've got the CPI year on year, which is coming in at 2.9%. So with this data that we've got, not to forget, Empire Manufacturing State Index is also going to be telling us if the US economy from the manufacturing state, from the Empire Manufacturing Index itself, that means businesses within that area, how are they actually operating? So to put it into perspective, What can we expect? Well, everything's starting to mark up. Have they priced in the idea that inflation is here to stay or the Fed's not going to do anything about their interest rates? Well, tomorrow's event could lead to it. On top of that, you've got the Bank of Japan with their interest rate increases. On top of that, you've got Trump's inauguration. On top of that, is he going to be lenient with the tariffs? Going into it all, the stock market has seen a little bit of a positive move to the upside. But what investors are actually looking at is the fact that it says here, world stocks rose and dollar retreated after a report that President-elect Donald Trump's incoming economic team is considering a gradual ramp up in trade tariffs in a strategy that could avert inflation spikes. Listen, the trade, in my opinion, is not going to do anything. The tariffs themselves, they will have an impact short term, but the major problem that we've got is the employment market. If the employment market is still strong, then those are the high risks that can lead inflation to mark up again. And the market itself is pricing that logic. Look at the bonds. They're not even showing interest in the bonds. But the only thing that's going to lead the bonds to move up is the Bank of Japan. So let's just look at the logic right now with the Bank of Japan. Some of you may or may not know. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you now. If you do know, there's nothing wrong with repetition. The Bank of Japan, they have a lot of US debt. Right now, they're losing money on that debt itself. The dollar yen in principle is trading at intervention levels. That means, does the Bank of Japan need to step in and buy a humongous amount of dollars just so that they can relax the actual difference between the dollar and the yen? Because right now, the yen is just taking a smack to the downside. Go over to the yen. You can see right here on the 14-minute time frame. Wow. On the 1 hour chart itself, you can see that we are heading what looks like towards this sub area right here where the last of the vector candles resides. Okay, now just remember, guys, this is all going to build up to Bitcoin. Remember, we're talking about big market cap assets, right? The bonds market, nearly $145 trillion. Bitcoin, nothing in comparison to NASDAQ, $25 trillion market cap. Bitcoin, a little bit small, isn't it? Bitcoin's market cap, what is it? Wait a sec. Where are we at? Here we go. All right. Let's say it makes up 3 point. Well, here we go. Where is it? Come on. Wait there. Wait there. Bitcoin's market cap. It's about 2 trillion, isn't it now? Yeah. If there or thereabouts, where are we at? Total is 3.2. Altcoin market's 1. Yeah, so about $2 trillion. Okay. So small amount. Now, I'm not here to take stabs at Bitcoin. That's not what I'm trying to say right now, okay? What I'm trying to say to you is this. The Japanese yen, there is a principle called the carry trade, where investors are going to try and take advantage of the fact that it's cheap to borrow yen, and then take that yen, sell it, and convert it to dollars, get those dollars, put them into the stock market. So when the yen goes down, the dollar goes up. You've been witnessing the stock market going up at the same time, right? If the guys that have borrowed all of that Japanese yen get told that there's going to be an increase on the interest rates in Japan, and they're talking about a 0.5% increase on the rates, could you imagine you've got dealers, market makers, hedge fund managers that are buying lots of yen because it's cheap to borrow? Then they get an increase on the interest rates, and now it's going to cost them more money to hold. What do you think they're going to do? Go back to the 5th of August. They'll pull everything. That pulling of everything is going to reset the market, in my opinion, which could then lead Bitcoin to the trajectory of what we're looking for, which is 110K Bitcoin or even beyond. Now, today's topic is Bitcoin will never go there again. What do we mean by that? Well, we're talking about this right here, ladies and gentlemen. CEO BlockStream says that Bitcoin will never trade below 43,000 again. This is where you guys get involved. Is it possible that could be the case? This CEO is saying that Bitcoin is holding very well against its 200-week moving average. A moving average is deciding that Bitcoin will never go beyond the 43K range again. How many of you are in agreement of this? How many of you are in the disagreement of this? Because when we look at Bitcoin's price action, okay, we can see on the weekly time frame, to put it into perspective, Bitcoin has been going up non-stop. Okay, it's just not stopped. That's the weekly moving average right there, the 200 EMA, right, in principle. Bitcoin could never go down to that point ever again, right? Why not? Let's be honest. Why not? You can never say never in the marketplace. All right? They never think banks actually get bankrupt. We've had like a number of bankruptcies coming into the bank. They don't talk about it much, but we've had banks getting bankrupt lately. All right? If you remember, just before Christmas or just after Christmas, the government, the Federal Reserve has done a repo program. They pumped another $500 billion over a 3-day period from the 29th of December going into the 3rd or 4th of January. Okay, a 4 or 5-day liquidity pump. Why are they doing that? What's missing? Because when you're putting money in, it means that liquidity is not there. So what's going on? In my opinion, I think that the Bank of Japan is going to step in and see that if Trump pump is going to come into play, okay, in his inauguration, and then he shows that he's not as aggressive with his tariffs, because China right now, China's in the bin, ladies and gentlemen. The world's factory is in the bin, right? Trump comes into play, gives the markets what they want. It pumps. He puts out information about crypto. Cryptocurrency pumps. Then the Bank of Japan says, let's increase our interest rates. And then everything gets pulled and then everything snaps back down again. The possibility of Bitcoin hitting $40,000 or $43,000, in my opinion, cannot be dismissed. Why? Because as much as Bitcoin has made a move up to retrace, to consolidate again and make the move higher, right? Bitcoin has not spent that much time consolidating. Think about it. This area here, look at it. That was a long period of consolidation on Bitcoin, right? Very long period. We went from, as it started to correct from that high at March 22, okay? Going all the way towards the actual January 2024, okay? When it broke out from that point. This consolidation effectively led Bitcoin to claim 2 all-time highs. From a technical perspective, yes, Bitcoin is making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. The logic says that Bitcoin is on that trajectory to keep climbing higher. That's what we would all like to assume, okay? But it's all the events that happen afterwards. The Bank of Japan, what are they going to do? How aggressive will investors pull their money from the markets to convert back to the yen and go into the US bonds and the Japanese bonds, and of course benefit on the fact that they can pick up euro on the cheap with the purchasing power of the dollar? Right now, the US dollar itself is giving you the benefit of being able to buy something with an appreciating dollar of 9%. So you're getting 9% extra in principle, okay, in value by buying something in dollars, okay, because it's got 9.3% purchasing power, right? When they increase the interest rates, that's the Bank of Japan, dollar will slump, euro will rise, Japanese yen will rise, the stock market will slump because investors need to get their money out because it's going to cost them a lot of money to service that increase in the interest rates on the yen they've borrowed. What does it mean for Bitcoin? Well, going back into Bitcoin to put it into perspective, in my opinion, Bitcoin needs to consolidate for a longer period of time to get further up. Look at the consolidation periods. They're not long. This looks like a rise, retrace, continuation. Now look at this consolidation period. If Bitcoin is going to move, then it's going to sweep up that 110, 120 range. Then it will look to try and come back down again. Okay? I believe that when the Federal Reserve really starts to come with the idea of easing and we do have interest rates coming down, that's when I think that Bitcoin is going to keep on climbing up. And then we can go to those really projections about Bitcoin going to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 price points. Okay? But just to put it into perspective for you on the idea that Bitcoin could never go down to 44,000. Look at it from this perspective. Okay? I'm going to bring up a chart for you. Question that I've got for some of you guys, okay, is this. Look at Berkshire and Hathaway stock, okay? Where are we at? Here we go. This thing is going $666,280 a share. One share, all right? And everyone's like, the coin of Bitcoin has gone to 100K. Celebrations. Over 500,000 nearly, man. What the hell, man? Pay attention to Berkshire. Look at it. That doesn't look like it's going anywhere. And this is the monthly time frame, okay? And I would be very surprised if this doesn't hit $1 million. It would be, in my opinion, if I'm correct, it would be the first stock to ever hit $1 million. Okay. Market cap is not that great. Okay. It's coming in at just under $1 trillion. But, you know, NVIDIA is over $1 trillion. But there's not that many shares outstanding with this company. Okay. They don't trade that much. It's 1,600 shares. One dude who was the CFO in this company, he only sold 200 shares in the company. 200 shares sounds like nothing, but that's like $138 million worth of change. So possibility that this stock could ever go down again. Could it go down to 500,000? Probably. But could it go anything beyond that? Very unlikely, because only a few boys trade this. This is, in my opinion, store of value, if I'm quite frank with you. You got 500,000 right there. Chuck a couple of purchases on that. 2 shares, right? Gets you 1.2 million. Tell me why that's not a store of value. And look, the volatility ain't that bad. It's not that bad, but it is a low asset, low trading asset in terms of the number of shares. So we look at this and think, could it ever go down? I think it would be very unlikely for it to go down unless something badly happens to Berkshire and Hathaway Group, which is very unlikely. This is Warren Buffett's company. It ain't going nowhere. And even when he passes on, this thing's going to keep on climbing. So then you go over and look at it with Bitcoin and you say to yourself, is there a possibility that Bitcoin could do it? Well, the first thing is that Bitcoin is way more volatile than Berkshire and Hathaway. So there's a clear distinction right there. But more importantly, what you've got to consider is this. The less time Bitcoin consolidates, the less time it consolidates at the highs, the less likely it's going to move higher, in my opinion. We need it to consolidate for a longer period of time at the highs, because if they can't move away from this point aggressively, then it's unlikely Bitcoin's going to keep climbing up. It could move up in terms of volatility, but there is a greater chance of Bitcoin coming down because they're spending too much time or less time consolidating here. Now, we would have to be in a proper bull run. We would have to be in the idea that things are looking good. But when you've got such an aggressive dollar and it's still climbing up, and we've got this red vector candle right here on the weekly chart, which could send the dollar over to 110, and inflation data tomorrow, if it does come in and show that inflation's going up, is going to send the dollar to the upside, which is going to be a problem for Bitcoin. The bonds will keep going down, the yields will keep going up, and investors will not want to sit in the beauty of sitting in the stock market. NASDAQ will take a shoe bag to the downside, and it will just be completely trading lower because the yields keep on moving up, because investors are not being encouraged or enticed to commit liquidity to the US government. So my response really is, before we get into Bitcoin price action, my response really is that Bitcoin could never trade below 43K again. You can't say it can't. But the only way that that improves, not just because of a 200-day moving average, nah, man, you can't. I would beg to differ on that. You can't tell me that just because of a moving average. I mean, I get it, but anything can happen with Bitcoin. Anything. So just put that into perspective. I mean, 43K Bitcoin, you're laughing. You are laughing if you can buy Bitcoin. Can you imagine? Look, buy Bitcoin at 43K and we're all excited about it. It's $43,000, man. Still, for one coin, that's expensive when you think about it. But it only opens up the room for boys like this. BlackRock has now taken off that 2,000 that sell order of the 1,500 Bitcoin that got removed. There it is right there. It's now down at 555,598. So we ain't really worried about the ETF per se. Seeing that, what we got here, that was 1 day ago. So there it is right there. There's the selling orders for BlackRock. So I'm not really concerned about it. The only thing that will compromise Bitcoin's move to the upside right now, ladies and gentlemen, is if the data tomorrow comes in and shows that Bitcoin is going to have a hard time when it comes to inflation. But don't you think Bitcoin should be moving up when inflation goes up? But that's what I mean. You got Wall Street in crypto, so you ain't going to get that logic. If it was just crypto exclusively and we didn't have Wall Street, I think that crypto would be pumping up when inflation goes up. The dollar would just go up and up and up, and people will be like, forget the dollar, I'm putting all my money into Bitcoin. But you've got Wall Street presence right now, and that's the problem, which leads to this. Everyone's asking about the altcoins. And apparently, according to one veteran analyst, he says that there's not enough money for Altseason to happen, all right? And there's too much garbage. Yes, there's a lot of coins out there. And let me say it, Any coin outside of Bitcoin is a meme coin. Sorry, that's the truth. And even dudes who love meme altcoins are even coming out with it. But with that being said, don't worry. Like, you can have certain altcoins like Ethereum, and you've also got XRP, where, I mean, that itself, just to put it into perspective, I just need to have a look at that. That's it. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I know the Ripple stablecoin is pulling out some big volumes right now. But XRP is doing very well. Don't get too excited, though. You know, it cannot go beyond this range just yet. We need another 3.6 years before it can actually go away from this point. So if you're buying XRP, don't worry, it might go down to $2.30. Very concerning state of affairs with cryptocurrency. But back to this right here, he's saying that there's not enough money for alt season to happen. Well, look, it doesn't mean that you can't exploit what's going on in the altcoins. I mean, if we have a look at the altcoin boss checklist right here, you got a lot of altcoins pumping up right now. Why? Because Bitcoin's moving up. Zen made a move above the 50 EMA. What did we say about that? It's coming back down to the 50 EMA. Look at the totals chart. All right, let's quickly go back into it. Totals chart. Don't know why I looked at Zen, but it's just an example. All right, quickly going over and have a look at where we are from the altcoin perspective. Altcoins right now on the weekly time frame are currently holding at the 13 EMA, and they haven't come back down to the 50 EMA. Drop down to the daily time frame, and you can see that there is consolidation in the altcoins. Maybe the idea of altcoin season is going to come into play just for a few people, okay? In the sense where there are guys that are just adamant they want to pick up their altcoins, because buying Bitcoin right now is something of the past. They're like, oh, what's my alternative? Maybe buying Ethereum is something of the past for some players. Maybe buying Solana is something of the past for some people. Maybe buying XRP is something of the past. Not at all. It will always be cheap. So don't worry about XRP. But fundamentally, looking at the actual, the total market cap for just the altcoins, okay, with the exception of Bitcoin and Ethereum, okay, you're looking at the altcoins thinking, what is likely to happen? Well, you now need to look at all the altcoins that are currently at the daily time frame. And if they're sat at the 50 EMA, those altcoins could effectively get ready to make a move to the upside if everything starts to go up. That means Bitcoin and Ethereum. If the bigger picture is suggesting that risk is going to come back on, well, that means from now till the 20th, there's going to be that Trump pump. So altcoins could actually pump up from this point. So look for altcoins that are currently set at the 50 EMA on the daily time frame. Once you've established that, you go down to the 4-hour time frame, and then you want to have a look at the altcoins that are actually at the 50 and the 200 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. And if you see this, it means that you've got altcoins that are consolidating, or in other words, there's not really that much movement. But if everything starts to turn favorably and people then do see a bias that is positive, then altcoins are probably going to start climbing up, where we could effectively see another, well, get over the $1 trillion market cap, which would then lead altcoins to move away from the 50 EMA, which could effectively give you some profitable opportunities on the spike away from the 50 EMA. In other words, go look for altcoins that are currently at the 50 on the 4-hour and, of course, trading in the range on the daily, and you're looking for them to try and make a move to the upside right here. That's what you're looking for with your altcoins. Any altcoins that are trading below the 50 EMA and quite below the 50 EMA, be very mindful, because even though they are below the 50 EMA, if the bigger picture starts to move everything back up, then altcoins that are trading way below the 50 EMA, so for example, one altcoin could be down here, for example, they're going to trade back to that 50 EMA. Okay, so that is also an opportunity to exploit. Now, some of you might be getting into altcoins with the idea of holding on to them because you want to just make millions and millions of dollars. This approach that I'm giving you is not for that. This approach is for the person that wants to get into spot on certain altcoins, make some money, and get out, basically. Okay? And you are exploiting the idea of mean reversion. So go back and look at altcoins that are at the 50 EMA in respect to the daily time frame right here. You're trading towards that point right there, because there are a lot of altcoins that have experienced buying, and then you're effectively wanting to see them try and make the recovery back up. Trump's inauguration could actually solidify it, but it could come to an end if the Bank of Japan increase their interest rates. And if Bank of Japan don't increase their interest rates, Trump pump will still be in play on the assumption that he moves everything forward, gets everything excited about this new, the crypto regulation and the possibility of a Bitcoin reserve. That's going to be an interesting one. So all of what you're seeing right now in crypto could be designed for Bitcoin to get ready to move up. Remember, I'm looking for Bitcoin to hit 110,000 by the first quarter, or at least within January. If it can do it in January, happy days, man. That will be fire. Now, with that being said, guys, quickly going over, the market is about to open in the next 5 minutes. Just want to quickly go over to Bitcoin's price action. You can see Bitcoin right now doing quite well. It's doing all right, especially on the news announcements that's just come out. So we could have ourselves a very interesting day right now, guys. Looking at it from this perspective, are we going to see any offers coming into play? Green vector candle has come back down. It's staying within the block of the vector candle. So that's a good sign for me right there. Quickly going over to the order flow, we can see that we've been buying and a lot of buying has come into play. Yesterday was a sweep to the downside to initiate the reversal back up. And they've already instigated the offers. So people are coming in selling the BTC. And we can see that is quite extensive because look at this. Someone had a sell order at 97,000. And triggered a $13.24 million sell order. The poor dude that put down 1.01 was there like, oh, I'm hoping to sell my Bitcoin. Well, it encouraged a few other players. So that tells us that there are actual participants in the book trying to actively get ready to sell as Bitcoin's price moves up. Remember, when it moves up, it's because retail is buying. Remember that. Going over to the Bitcoin Coinbase Premium Index to have a look at where that bad boy is right now. We quickly have a look. You can see we've got some curvature to the upside on the Coinbase Premium Index. Remember, retail is looking at this chart thinking, oh my God, Bitcoin's going down. But now it's starting to come up. So when we look at it again later on this evening, depending on what happens, and then we look at it tomorrow, especially after the data, if we see this coming up and we see it turn green, any of you that have taken spot trades right now, in principle, you want to be selling when it turns green, just in case it starts to pull back quite aggressively. Okay? Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? I hope it does. By the way, I've got something for you just before we kill it. We've got news announcements coming out for Applied Digital. It is a relatively big market cap stock, okay? And it's a company that operates next generation data center computer power to blockchain infrastructure and supports Bitcoin mining. Now, we know that the difficulty of Bitcoin mining has now actually increased. So they're going to be declaring their earnings today, okay? And it says it's at the close of the market. So if we just go over to it right here, it's going to be at the close. Applied Digital Corporation is going to be at the close of the market. So what you want to be mindful of is if this company does miss its expectations on its earnings, technically it shouldn't have an impact on cryptocurrency, but the majority of the stocks crypto-based and that are in the mining sector, that might actually have an impact on them, which could effectively lead Bitcoin down. Hopefully that is not the case, but at the close of today, we're going to see if they are actually going to come through and do pretty well. Because I'm looking at the selling off right here, and it's not actually happening above average volume. So I'm not too concerned about that. Quickly going over into some options plays for the guys who look at options. In the close of yesterday, I'm trying to have a look at what the actual unusual trade volume was. I'm seeing some GME sell orders coming in, but nah, nothing too worrisome. We've got BABA, that's coming in at a big sell order right there. AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, they're coming with a call order for a sell put at 14 million. That's quite a stack right there. But then we've also got quite a few sell buy puts right here, which is favoring lower prices. Not really seeing the boys back in town. We've got NVDA buy puts right here for 2.16 million going down. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Planters coming into play. Riot. We've got quite a bit of cryptocurrency stocks coming in. Lots of buy orders on NVIDIA towards the close yesterday. Amazon sell orders. Okay, right. So I'm not seeing what I'm looking for. And that is MicroStrategy. Quickly going over to MicroStrategy itself. Just have a look at that, where we are with that. Going into the open, we're seeing a gap up in MicroStrategy to around $340. So let's see if it can sustain itself. Quickly going over to NVIDIA or the volatility index. Well, yeah, that's good news for us. If the volatility index is going down, NVIDIA, now that the market is open, gap up on NVIDIA. They're going to absorb the idea that the news announcements is positive for the marketplace because inflation data is coming in suggesting that the core goods are actually being priced lower. So that's good news. So let's see if NVIDIA can actually bring this flavor and continue it to the upside. Oil is taking a bit of a tumble, but I think oil is going to consolidate. Something's a bit fishy about oil this morning, but I'm paying attention to the yields. And as long as the yields can keep on marking lower, then that's going to be interesting for the stock market overall and, of course, for Bitcoin. Do you think quantum stock is done? No, it's not done. I don't think quantum stocks are going to be done, even though Jensen did say that quantum power ain't going to be happening for quite a while. Naturally, you're going to say that when you are the dog for the AI market and you run the show. You're going to talk down on it, okay? But it all depends on the tech that comes out, you know? Are you in it for the tech, ladies and gentlemen? That's the story right now. Bitcoin making a nice little pumpage to the upside, guys. So that's a nice little flavoursome move right there. The offers are coming in. Liquidations are getting smacked left, right, and centre. So if you are short and you are one of the 4,654 traders that got liquidated, who the hell's doing? I mean, you know what? Fartcoin is playing very interesting numbers, you know. I see loads of guys in the Discord, in the Platinum membership. Speaking of which, if you haven't done this already, get to the Traders Reality course. It's free of charge for you all. Get it done. You study the hybrid. The hybrid system works, okay? And you want trade setups and what have you and more information on the hybrid system, click the memberships tab and then become a Platinum member where you can actively get involved in the guys in the Discord. There's a wealth of knowledge in there, guys. And you get all sorts of flavor on there. You get access to other courses as well. So get yourself involved in that if you are interested in the actual hybrid system from a deeper perspective. Enhance your learning, to say the better word. That's in the description, ladies and gentlemen. So go check that out. Okay. Of course, I need to go. And when I go, Bitcoin moves. So get yourselves ready. We might have ourselves a very interesting New York session. Be sure to like and subscribe on the way out and tune in for tonight's video. Peace, gang. Mad love. Said it backwards. What a guy. What a guy.